Hello scrappers. I know I've been away for a little while, had some personal things going on. I'm back at her now. Today I'd like to scrap out this big bad air purifier. Looks like it came off the ark. Probably time for something a little bit more modern. Anyway, I haven't looked this thing over at all, so let's see what's inside. Okay, so plan B. What is plan B? Give me a moment. Okay, back in business. Deep holes, small screws. Let's see, what else? So inside this thing, change the angle here a bit. We got, there's like a panel here. It's either stainless. I think it's stainless steel, but I guess we'll find out. How do I break it? That's always the first question. How do I break it? So this is the filter. This was the filterless type, and yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna take that filter. That's gonna get deposited. And I'm thinking this is all stainless steel, but let's see if we can figure out more correctly what it is. There's also the wires here, and well, it may not be stainless steel. That may actually be, that might be aluminum. Well, how about that? So that's good news if it's aluminum. Let's see if we can get this thing apart. So, like a lot of radiators are also aluminum, and you can just see, what you can't really see in this video is how dusty this is. This is dusty. Alright, so now we've got some sheet aluminum. That'll sell. No problem selling that. Worth about 50 cents a pound, something like that. Depends on your scrapyard, and depends on their aluminum categories. And I don't even know all the aluminum categories for my scrapyard. I think I don't bring in a volume of aluminum that I have to worry about this that much, but if you can find out the different types of aluminum that they'll take, and if there's different prices, it might be worth separating, it might not be. Some places might insist on you separating them. And there are different grades I know at my scrapyard for like windows and doors. That's a different deal. Together that aluminum is worth more. Now this is just your sheet aluminum. You know, you can see, easy to scratch, not magnetic, light aluminum. Alright, now I'd love to just I think these parts are aluminum as well. And rather than getting paid for dirty aluminum, I'd like to just take these things off. They have some screws on them. Go with this one, I guess. Camera's being a bit of a pain here. See if I can show you a little more what's going on here. So I'm hoping I can get this plastic part off relatively easily. Otherwise, it's going to be a real pain getting the rest of this aluminum separated. There's also some wires in here, and I'm not sure if they're aluminum or not. That's something I'm going to have to test. Okay. This comes off. This is probably magnetic. Yes, it is. So that's goes in the shred pile. Let's say, do you save? So here's your question for today. First question: do you save? What about your springs? Do you save them at all? I know screws. Some people save them. I do. But what about your springs? Do you save those? So these are just appear to be held in by these little deals right here. So I'm just leveraging those up. I was using too big of a stick. Let's use a different one. Okay, somebody ran off with it, so let's just go with this. By somebody, I mean me. I think I know what I did with it. Actually, right here. Okay. So. I'm going to take my hammer here. My hammer's named Lyric. Okay, Lyric's the one who taught me. Hit it with a hammer. That was his solution. There we go. And this part's actually got some weight to it. So I'm thinking I'm just going to throw that in the shred. I don't think there's anything special in here. There are screws here I could get. But I don't think they... What isn't part of this exploration? Let's find out what's under the screws. Just to find out what's under the screws. And this is my first air purifier, by the way. So I'm going to turn the camera down so you can see what I'm working on here. This camera's not being very cooperative with me today. Okay. You know, considering we have a house full of kids here, they're being pretty quiet. I'm pretty lucky. You never know when I might have to shut down. Nope. Not at all. All right. Now, the mystery of what's behind this particular part. Al Capone's vault. Absolutely nothing. There's just a little metal piece here. And maybe some sort of contact plate of some sort. I'm not sure. I'm just going to pop that sucker up. All right. This little piece here, that is magnetic. So off that goes. And then put the screws aside because I do. That's what I have to do. Alright. Alright. And what about these other pieces? What's behind them? And then, see these little clips here? I'm not entirely sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's I don't think that's steel. It doesn't seem to be. See if we can figure that out too. And while I'm sure that every air purifier is different, this one might give you some idea as to what to expect in case you do take one apart. Of course, like I said, the easier thing to do would have been just to throw this whole thing into shred, okay? There's nothing wrong with doing that. Shred, they know they're not getting pure metal. They know they're getting a mixture, and that's what you're getting paid for, right? That's magnetic. So, off with the shred that goes. And then just because we're already doing it, I'll take this other piece off. I'm going to see if I can pull that other piece out, but from what I can tell, it is, I can't tell. We'll find out what the deal is with it. Seems like, well, we'll see what it is. If I could kind of pop this out, no such luck. Well, the other thing I can do here is there's these little things holding this in. I could also just take a pair of snips, big, small, whatever you got, and cut those snips off, snip those off like that, and then it should hopefully fall right out. Okay, again, that's just shred. Okay, I'm going to do something. I'm going to pause. Alright. Okay, so what I managed to do so far is I managed to rip open a little piece here. Oh. At this point, this screw seems kind of redundant. But at least what I am going to get off of here are some switches. And switches do tend to have interesting parts in them, right? For those who do not know, switches can have copper and brass in them, and then silver contacts. Alright, I'm going to guess that any silver contact in here is minimal, but you never know. You can also see on the inside here, look at those big, heavy, chunky components. This is like an older style, okay? So you can tell sometimes from the components that this is an older piece. Newer things tend to have fewer components and much lighter circuit boards. And old circuit boards are a great thing, to be honest. Like, you know, that's cool stuff. Actually, that's a really cool circuit board. I can hardly wait to get into that. Okay, I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna put this on hold here for just a minute. Okay. All right. Okay. So we got a little piece of copper out of this here switch. So that's good. We're going to put that in the copper. This is all garbage. I know I could get, if I could get those screws out. But again, how much effort are you going to put into getting stuff like that out? All right. Alright, I think I'm giving up on that. So we'll throw this plastic away. Get a little ball bearing. That's interesting, but not interesting enough to keep. Put that over there. We got screws. That goes in my pile of screws, naturally. Okay, inside here, we've got some metal, and that is likely either copper or brass. And judging from how flexible it is, what happened to my mini pliers? Anyway, take these out, and that is very bendy. That is actually copper. Actually, I'm almost certain that's copper. Alright, so put that in with the copper. Rest of this, yeah, nothing. Okay, this one here, it's a little diode on there. I mean, kind of interesting, but meh. Okay, we've got lots of wire here. I don't know what happened to my mini snips. They went away, so we're just going to use these for now. Okay, that's garbage. These switches can have interesting things in them, so we'll crunch those open and see what's inside. Okay, you can sort of see that there's there are things going on here. You can see this very, very small. There's a small button of silver on there, a silver contact. And I know some people will collect those and others not so much. This little piece of metal here only lightly sticks. I'm almost certain it's nickel plated brass. And we can see the it's hard to see. It's hard to see, but it's there. Okay, so that goes in with the brass. Okay, that's brass as well. So we'll just put all that brass together. It's okay if you put copper in the brass pile, but it's not okay if you put brass in the copper pile, and your scrapyard will not like it if you do that. Just make sure you ask them what their expectations are, etc. But they want copper. Your copper number 2 has to be, you know, even though it's copper number 2, you'd think, well, you know, they'll let you have a little bit of shellac or some sort of light contaminants, but really, otherwise, they're going to tell you it's copper 3, or they're going to downgrade you to brass or something else. And I'm pretty fussy with how I do these. So I haven't had I had some aluminum one time downgraded on me, but that was it. Because they said it was cast, which I actually don't agree with them on that. I think they actually got that wrong. But, you know, it's whatever, right? Your scrapyard is the one that are going to make the decisions at the end of the day, and your decision is whether or not to deal with them. That's how that works. And for the most part, my scrapyard has been awesome. And so maybe I might disagree with them once or twice, once in a while, but generally speaking, they've been very excellent to me. So I really have no complaints. And it's starting to be that I only bring certain things to the scrapyard because I've been doing melting. And then once you make bars, something into bars, now you have a different audience that's interested in them, okay? And I actually found, at least my experience was that the copper bars were quite popular. And I was getting well beyond the weight, copper weight price for them. Now, will you have that same experience? I don't know. Maybe you will. but also maybe you won't. You can try and find out. I had put copper bars up on, I think it was Facebook Marketplace, and I had 5 dings in the first half hour, and I could have sold those copper bars over and over again. I ended up selling stuff that wasn't even really truly for sale, just because there were people very interested in it. So if you're going to do melting, the first thing I'll tell you is watch a few videos of Big Stacked. That's the guy you got to watch. He is the pro. He's the expert. I would say that he's the industry standard, but that's just my own personal opinion. And he knows what he's doing. Watch some of his videos. You will learn a lot from them. And you'll learn a little bit about the equipment that you need to do it and such. It's not as scary as I thought it would be. I thought it would be a little more scary than what it was. But it's like anything else. You have to... You're going to be safest when you're most aware. And so, to be honest, my first melts went very, very well because I was very aware and paying attention. It's only when you stop, when you think you got things figured out, now that's where there's a possibility that things could go wrong. So you got to be ever diligent when you're doing melting, is what I'm trying to say, okay? And do find out and figure out how to do it. Check with your local community college or any place that might actually offer training in it, because I'm sure that if I took the training in it, I'm self-taught and YouTube taught, I guess. I guarantee you if I took a course in it, I'd find out I was doing it all wrong. And so just be careful and with it if you're going to do it. And there is no true substitution for experience, okay? So this little board's got a little bit of everything. So it's a power board, but it's got other things on here too. This might be a relay, and I'm hoping that it is. This is almost like a relay, but it's got copper. This has got copper. That's got copper. These are MOSFETs, which you can get the copper out of. I'll show you how you do that. And here's another MOSFET that's on an aluminum heatsink. Okay, so the MOSFET is for all that are, and I'm sorry for anybody who has electronics experience, I'm sorry if I'm going to screw this up. My understanding is it's essentially a transistor, okay? But what I know from it from a scrapping point of view is that it contains some pure copper, just for the taking. You just have to learn how to take it off. Okay, so let's see if I can take this off. This looks like it's just soldered in here. Let's see, I'll just take that off. Just like that. And you've got extruded aluminum, and some places the extruded aluminum they'll pay higher for. So check that out to see if they're going to pay for extruded aluminum. One of the things that I've seen people do, just to try to figure out kind of what's we're taking apart and what's not, okay, is they'll weigh things before and after, because some places will take things like this and they will give you a shred rate or something like that, okay? And like at my yard, if I can bring that in as shred, which I think I probably could, I'd have to ask, but let's say I could, they're going to give me like 8 cents a pound for it, and this thing was maybe 10 pounds if it was that, so maybe I get 80 cents for the whole thing, okay? And I've probably gotten that in wire any case. I see there's at least one more circuit board in here, and I find that amazing for a device that I wouldn't have thought would have been that complicated, but hey, whatever, man. All I know is I'm getting stuff off of it. Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this. This little fuse here, you can put that as dirty brass. I melt it, and it just, the glass kind of gets sacrificed in the process. Also, what's holding on to it is going to be brass as well. Okay, typically speaking anyway. So you can pop that sucker out, put it with your brass, decide what you're going to do with it later, if you're going to try to clean it up, if you're going to try to melt it, or if you're going to try and sell it as dirty brass. And then these little pieces of brass are just nice. You can sell that as yellow brass. Not a problem at all. I don't sell it as yellow brass, I melt it down, because that's my jam. Don't assume I know what I'm doing with all that metal, by the way. I really don't. Okay, so there's a circuit or an IC on here. So we'll try to get the IC off. And that one's going to break off really easily. That must be copper parts to it. Okay. Try not to break this while I'm at it. Alright, let me just break that sucker off. And then I have a jar that I keep these in. And if you're into going to Board Sort, okay, I'm not sponsored by Board Sort, but if you're into going to Board Sort, they will pay you so much a pound for that, whether it's $10 or whatever it is, for integrated circuits. Alright, so let's take this MOSFET off and talk about this MOSFET a bit. What I'm liking about this particular scrap out is that there's a little bit of everything in here, and there are things that if you have not dealt with it before. Now, I'm not using the right tool, by the way. The right tool, I'm going to see if I have the right tool. So the right tool for doing this fine work is these little mini snips, okay? And they can get in here a lot more easily, all right? So now, having said that, this part here, I won't start with that. I'll start, you've got to, you know, I believe you need to have a selection of snips. I have 3 sets of snips that I use, and I use all 3 of them, and I don't know how anybody doesn't use 3 sets of snips, and that's just me thinking that. Okay, now, I'll show you about these MOSFETs. So this part's copper. This part on the back is like a silver paste. Some people even collect that. I don't, but some people do. Now, these legs are copper, okay, so you can get those off. Okay, and you put that with your pure copper. Yes, there's a slight other metal coating, but it's minor. Okay, and then here we've got all right, so that's pure copper. So that little nugget of copper goes in with my copper. Okay, is it worth it? That's up to you to decide. It takes you a little bit of time. They aren't always that easy. Sometimes they give you trouble, grief. All depends on how much trouble you're willing to put up with. That one was remarkably easier than most. This one here is already not as easy, but still not bad. You're just crunching the plastic off with the side snips. You're only crunching the side snips as much as you need to get rid of the plastic, otherwise you'll cut through the copper. And I have shrapnel flying all over, or as I call it, scrapnel. And that one's on the floor. We'll pick that up later. One of the things I learned is to wait till you have a few things down there to pick it up, but then I'm an old guy, so that's more old guy thinking than anything else. Okay, this little thing here, I want to get this little deal off, because this little deal has some nice copper in it. And it's not just copper, it's fun copper, okay? This is fun to extract. Let's see how we're going to get this. There's a leg here, a leg there. We'll push this up a bit. There we go. Now, if you can start the reel on this, you can just literally unwind this. It's actually quite fun. Let's see. I'm not sure how easy that's going to be to do. There we go. Okay. And I myself find this part to be fun. Okay, everybody's got a different version of what's fun. I just think it's neat to unwind this lengthy thing of copper. You know, you can cut away the plastic, make it a little bit easier to do it. And just about at the end of this one, I'm going to pause the video for the other one, but I want to show you one of these at least. Okay. Okay, so there it is, a little nugget of copper. Now, how much is that worth? Well, if we say that copper is worth, in Canadian dollars, roughly a penny a gram, okay, that's rough, that's not exact, okay, but just as a going thing, well, this is 1.22 grams. Okay, it's a penny of copper, but what the heck, it was fun, wasn't it? Okay, I'm going to do the other one, be right back. And we're back. One of the other pieces that gets collected off of here, it has, I don't know if it's silver and maybe some other elements in it, possibly palladium or something like that. I don't know which all elements, but there's other things in that you can collect in these blue M&Ms. Now, it could be palladium, there maybe, there wouldn't be tantalum in these, but there are tantalum capacitors, and those are worth collecting as well. But these ones here will have silver and some other metals in it in extremely small quantities that you would have to know what you're doing and probably put in some sort of a granulator, and then you would probably have to use some chemical processes to extract those. But I do keep the blue M&Ms. There we go. And then I do keep these big ceramic capacitors as well. And that. Now I'm not sure if all of them are worth something, but who knows, okay? I can tell you that these capacitors, these aluminum ones, not so much, I can tell you that. And of course, when you're scrapping these things out, you're going to have to take some things out of the way, and then you're going to be left with a board. And this type of board, my understanding is that power boards score pretty low in terms of how much you can get for them. So I'm not really worried too much. I don't myself process, I'll take what I can off the boards, and then the boards themselves I bring to an eco center. Okay, I don't throw them out, I bring them to an eco center. There's still trace amounts of things that are worth collecting from there. These little deals right here have these copper in them too, hey? So little sources of copper that do at some point add up and are worth it at some point. Okay, not going to add up quickly, but if you're a micro scrapper like I am, you have to temper your expectations, okay? Manage your expectations a little bit, because you know you're not getting rich off of this. And can you even pay for your tools? Well, I have yet to see that, but you never know. Maybe at some point I'll actually come out ahead with some of this stuff. I might take some of these other things off. The only other one I'm really going to show you though is this, which I believe to be a relay, fingers crossed, because if it is a relay, it's got some copper and some other things in it that really, and it sure is. There we go, awesome. So let's get that stuff out, okay? And so, all right, we got a little spool there of what's in there. And then there's other things in here, including, again, silver contacts. And some people collect the silver contacts. I myself do not. If I come across silver contacts, I might save them to give them away to somebody else who does collect them. Harvesting silver with chemicals is a bit of a dangerous process, not something I'm really interested in getting into. Something that should only be done once you are very well versed in how to do so, especially in the safety protocols for it all. So I don't recommend getting into that unless and until you absolutely know what you're doing. Otherwise, you could be in for a world of hurt or worse. Okay, and in the meantime, for me, it's not my jam. I will let somebody else do that. Okay, what I find with these relays is that you have to try to find a way to get the top or the bottom off so that you can get at the copper. You probably can get at the copper without doing that. I'm sure you can. Alright, there you go. And once again, this is kind of a fun way of doing it. Now we're kind of getting into what I think is the fun part of the video when we're dealing with this stuff. And like I said, this is micro scrapping. A lot of people would make it to a certain point and then say, this is farther than I'm willing to go with this. It's not really worth my time. That's totally valid. Some other people would be like, oh, I don't know, let's see what I can get out of this thing. Oh, well, you know, those are the people who are not relying on it for any form of income and are not hung up on whether or not they're actually breaking even. Maybe they're more interested in learning about how things are put together and how well they come apart. There's the whole problem-solving aspect to it, which I think is pretty cool. And I will think I've solved a problem, and then I'll watch a video and go, oh, well, actually, that's the better way to do this. Silly me. All right. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. So we've got that copper off. I think this is just, that's just steel. There's a little piece here of brass, though. I'm going to take that piece off. Okay. So that's brass. And that's steel. That's magnetic. All right. That's on the floor. I'm going to need that soon. And so this circuit board, for what I like to take off it, is pretty much done. I could take these off. Maybe I'll try taking them off. Why not? And are those capacitors worth anything? Do they have something in them? Not sure. Don't know. Do something worth. And then again, if you know, please put it in the comments. What about these big brown capacitors? Do they have anything interesting in them? What type of capacitors are they? I might just look those up. They're ceramic capacitors of some sort. Okay. They have markings on them that say things like 104K 630V. Not sure. Okay. And then I'll take this one off. I mean, I could even get into taking these legs off here, these old electronics. This is copper. Okay, so if you really want to get intimate with your circuit board here, you could start taking off these legs because they are in fact copper in many cases. And again, you'll have to test it to be sure, but I can tell you, I know. Get my magnet here. Even though that's magnetic, I'm going to double check that. Granny glasses time. I may be eating my words here, guys. Well, how about that? These are not copper. Interesting. All right. You'll learn something new. And then that's also a good indicator as to why you should test things to make sure. I would have lost a bet on that one. There's another capacitor here. I'll get that one off. Okay. All right. So that's that circuit board. Now that circuit board, I am done with that circuit board. I think this is where we're going to wrap up this part. I will do the rest of this scrap out another time, and we'll just continue to splice it together and continue the video. Scrap and lube for now, over and out. Well, welcome back, scrappers. This is day 2 of the big scrap out on an air conditioning unit, or it's a air purifier unit. Had some trouble with the video in the first half, so there's things missing from it and everything. Sorry about that. Stuff happens. I'm not a professional videographer by any stretch of the imagination, but let's continue on with this scrap. Okay, first thing, I'll show you that we did pull out a lot of this sheet aluminum, and maybe if I feel like it and I have time, I'll separate this from this, and mostly that's just going to be to keep it compact. That's what I was trying to say. And what I'm going to work on first is just trying to get this big thing open. I noticed after doing all the things that I did to it last time that there were some other screws back here, and that probably holds down this flywheel here. And then there's this, which I imagine is another relay. So that could be another source of some goodies. And I can see that there's at least one other circuit board down there, and we'll take a look and see what we can figure out from there. So, what to do next? Well, this is a really good question, and again, I don't know what I did there. Yet another thing for me to splice. Alright, so inside here, like I said, there is this, what I believe to be a relay. Let's see if we can extract that. I'm hoping it's a relay, because if it is a relay, it's going to have some goodness in it. Now there is plastic here, and that's not a good sign, but well, let's hope for the best. Throw my glasses on again. And let's see what we've got. And it is not a relay. Wah, 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 wah. So off with the garbage it goes. Meh. I could check underneath these little, sometimes under the little feet here, sometimes there's things. I hadn't actually checked them this time. And there are definitely screws underneath. So that is something that I find quite often, is that if you check under those, you will find these feet. And if you can't get the thing open, quite often that's what the issue is. Alright, let's put this rusty old extended bit. And then enough has been broken away from this other part. There we go. See, I should have checked the feet in the beginning. Should have checked the feet to begin with. Now I'm going to show you what this inside looks like. Okay, here we go again. Man, I'm just not up with my camera work right now. There's a whole bunch of screws here, and I think this is the transformer. This is the prize, I think. At least that's where there's a motor, I can tell you that. And that's probably the prize. Let's get these screws out. one thing I gotta say is they really bolted this sucker down good. Like, this thing is tough. And you can just, like, everything is covered in dust. Like, this thing was, somebody really needed to, that's probably why the thing died. There we go. Okay, and this is all plastic, so or garbage. There is a rod going through here that isn't. I think that's just. I'm gonna check it. It's metallic, so yeah. How much do I want to play with this to see if I can get it out? Let's see. We're gonna go to whack with the hammer. There we go. Woohoo! Quarter of a penny of steel, not even a quarter of a penny. Okay, so like I said, this has got to be the prize here, and we've got more dust all over the place. I'm going to start by taking out all these little wires. And of course, wires, as I said before, they're worth something, you know. They're not worth a lot, but you know, 80 cents a pound, man. It's not terrible. I know some of you are saying, well, you don't really need to undo that stuff. You're right, I don't. But I'm also trying to work with the scrap yarn a little bit too. This isn't easy to take off, so I may leave those on. It does look to me like these ends though have brass in them, so you know, could be worth it, guys. Well, to get the brass out, something to keep in mind at least. Anyway, take this as some sort of a. Oh, now I've done it. Well, now I've done it. See if I can get the screw off, or if it's going to tell me to screw off. Alright, now this piece here feels like it's like a set screw in there. But I boogered it up, so that's just going to go in a shred. It's kind of one of these things where it doesn't want to just make it easy for me, okay? And this little piece like this, I'm probably going to melt that, but I still want to get as much crap off of it as possible. My alternative is to try to clean it off completely or sell it as dirty aluminum. Hang on for a sec. I can't begin to describe how much dust is in here. There's this little piece where the button was to open the control panel, and it's got a couple of screws in it, and should I waste my time trying to get those off or not? I don't know. Probably not, but this is fun, right? We decided that doing this is fun, right? All right. Plastic. Off she goes. Still working on this thing here, trying to get all this rubber off. Or at least enough of it off that I can stomach the idea of just that is close enough for my process, as there's still a little bit stuck in here. This would be definitely dirty aluminum. I can melt that. It's not a really big deal. It'll burn off that other stuff. I try not to burn off too much stuff, right? But there is a little bit that goes that way. Now I've got this thing here. This is the motor. This is the working end of the stick, right? Not what I was trying to do at all. Okay, some more screws for the collection. All right. Now, this deal right here. How are we going to get that open? Well, if you, I see, there's more screws here. Take those off, and yeah, some things, especially when they're older, and this one, I really think it's an 80s or 90s design, possibly even older than 80s, based on the circuit board. You know, it's a different era. It's when they made things. They say they don't build them like they used to. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And the answer is they don't build them like they used to. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? The answer is yes. Okay, some ways a good thing, some ways a bad thing. You know, I mean, what's there to say for things that are virtually indestructible? I love doing the things, scrapping things that are otherwise virtually indestructible. Nowadays, they don't build them like that. They build them much more efficiently. Yes, somewhat red wimply, but not so much that. I mean, it's really efficient, you know? I did a scrap out of a recent TV set that had it was a bit suspect, had a bullet hole in it, but anyway, I think I might have mentioned that in one of my other videos, but the point is it yielded like $1.50 a scrap, like that's it. More plastic. Now we got the motor, and this is all metal, and it's really encased. And now I'm gonna have to really look and think about how one's supposed to get this out, because I am not entirely sure. There is a seam along here, but how am I supposed to get that out? Maybe it's as easy as hitting that seam. We'll see. Oy vey. Well, so much for my theory about this being metal. At least this part is not. Okay? This part is plastic. This is plastic. Interesting. Alright, well, put the glasses back on for safety. I have goggles in here somewhere. Better in this case. I don't know where they are. Okay. Got this part off. That's got like a little bronze ring in it, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that or not. That's going to be pretty tough. Maybe if I... Yeah, I think we're just going to call that shred. And yep, if I had worked at it some more, I could probably get it out. At some point, I'm going to say, nah, you know what? Seems like maybe a penny or two of it, but shred, you know what? It's still going to get recycled, and that metal is still going to get used at some point. Now, back to a good way to get this out. There is a rod in here, and I wonder if I lift this up somehow. The other way you could do this, and I don't have this inside here, but you could put this on a vise. Just sit it on a vise and then just pound that through, right? You've got a pin here. You could take that pin out. That would definitely help. And I wonder if that'll just knock through. Oh, there we go. So we've got the rotor. It's not an armature type, from what I can tell. Well, now what? Well, guys, I don't think I can do this without a vise. One thing I could do is I could try see if I can cut this, if this is a band, and I'm not sure that it is. So I'm going to put this in my project bin. I'm going to see if I can do something with this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do too much with it, to be honest. And I'd just love to get that die cast out. But if I can't get the die cast out, I can't get the die cast out. So put that in my project bin. We're going to leave that for now. Now back to this thing. This has got the goodies in it, I can tell. It's frustrating because I know what's in there. Little pig, won't you let me come in? Well, I don't know if I actually did anything, but I got this wire exposed. So I guess that's something. But I think this is going to be one of those deals where I need a bigger hammer, a sledge or something. Wow, it's starting to crack. They sure don't pull it like they used to. Wow. This is just insane. This is solid. This is a solid core deal. This isn't like a lid pops off. You know, look. You can see the copper here. If I can flake some of this away. Okay. And there's the copper, and the copper's embedded in this. I've never seen anything like it. Have any of you seen anything like this? I'd like to know. Please share any stories you have on this type of situation. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this or not. This one might beat me. I went from having dust to having this plastic coating deal all over the place. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I don't know what we're dealing with here. Wow, that is crazy. And this, I don't know what you do with this. I do not know what you do with this. I've never seen anything like this before. Got a couple little pieces of metal off there. These are from these things here. What I was hoping I could do was maybe lift this somehow, but I don't even think that's going to work. This might be one time where I am beaten away from the copper, which is total sadness. Wow. And look at that. Like, I can't, it's embedded. Like, it's totally embedded. Well, guys, I think it's beaten me. I'm going to snip this little bit of copper off. And I'm going to keep that as a souvenir, I think, more than anything else. I couldn't even tell you if this is just the only layer of copper or if there's more underneath. I mean, I have no idea. All I know is that this is not what I was thinking it would be. I thought there'd be some sort of a lid and I could pop it open and I could pull this sucker out. But it's not like that at all. It's it's embedded. Wow. Shred. Wow. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Okay, well, there's still more things to do here. So let's focus on them, shall we? I've never been beaten by copper like that before. That's sadness. So just keep that in mind. That can happen, I guess, right? You can get a motor in which the entire motor is encased in plastic in such a way. Okay, so that's from the extension cord, so that's going to go in the wire, so that's okay. Don't mind that at all. Again, this could be a relay. I always think any box like this could be a relay. Put that aside for a second. Wow. What a crazy item. This seems pretty tame comparatively speaking. Give this a whack. I'm sensing a theme. That seems... Yeah, Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This thing is kicking my butt. Okay, and got a little transistor there, which is kind of cool. Old school transistor. This little pair of snips are just about done. Little circuit board, is that even worth handing in? Maybe. I'll put it in the pile. Put that in the pile. I'm just so demoralized. I'm totally demoralized. Like, we'll go back to looking at the... Yeah, I got aluminum, man. I got aluminum. That's my big score. Aluminum. Yeah. Okay. Where's my magnet? Okay. Alright, well, the last part of anything that has anything is whatever's underneath here. Now this wants a smaller screwdriver. And these fortunately seem to be easy enough. I can't believe how that thing kicked my ass. This thing was indestructible. Incredibly overrun with dust and dirt, and I don't think it had ever been cleaned. If it had, I just don't know. But if you wanted something that, you know, is going to survive the zombie apocalypse, Armageddon, and a nuclear war, this is the thing that will survive it. And maybe that's the thing you want to have survive all those things. An air purifier, because I'm sure you're going to need some of that after all those things. Yeah, we're all dying as a species, but we have our air purifier. Somebody once tried to break it. It broke them. Ha ha ha. Yeah, okay. All right. We got one little motor in here. That circuit board that I was talking about turns out to be a motor, which is fine. Get these out. There we go. Get these wires out of the way. What have we got here? We got another size little screw. The next size smaller. And it's hiding something inside here. I don't think it's hiding a pound of copper. Pretty sure there's no reconciliatory copper waiting for me in there. I can't believe that thing kicked my ass like that. Have a good mind to throw that at my kiln and see what the kiln does to it. As all the toxic fumes come up, and I'm laughing at it. Ha 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 ha! All right, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna throw it in the shred. Okay, just so you know. I like copper, but I'm not that crazy. If something's got a little bit of plastic on it or whatever, and I can't quite get it off, yeah, I'll throw that into my crucible, but not like that. No, that's I can't do anything with that. Okay. A little screw and some more wire. Now you could, I mean, these ends are probably brass. For giggles, let's check that out. And those are definitely brass. So that's good. We'll check that out. We'll put those with our brass. Alright. This thing here, I'm thinking that's, yeah, I figured. Okay, well, that's good. Now, what do we got here? We can put that. More screws. You can hear my son in the background. I don't know what he's doing, but he's sure doing it, whatever it is. Wow, that's going to be quite a thing of plastic to throw out. Okay. And I can see that this little motor is stuck to this little circuit board. Yeah. I'm gonna pause it for a second. All right. So I've taken that stuff off. I just took that stuff off. I can already tell we're dealing with yet another big block of, yeah. Like, man, I'm telling you, this thing, you definitely couldn't repair anything that's broken inside if something managed to get broken inside. Although I doubt sincerely you could break anything inside. It's highly doubtful. So now we've got this, so I'm going to take that. I see no way to get into this, and this is solid, and so yeah, that's going, I'm not even putting that in shred. I don't think there's metal in there, anything worth putting it in shred. So we've got this motor, and I'm going to see what I can do about this motor. This is kind of a, I don't know if I should leave it like that, if I should try to take it apart. It's a little different than any other motor I've seen. So, and what you could do here is you could heat this up and take this out that way. You definitely could do that, you know. I don't know if I can sort of drive those back somehow. I don't think I'm going to even try. And what a surprise, all that plastic stuff is on the inside too. And this is like a ferrite sort of a deal. Okay. At least I think it is, yeah. So that's kind of neat. I wonder if I can knock the other one out. Yeah. Not the way I wanted to, of course, but yeah, and I can't really see. I could. The way it's set up is I could put something in there. I had it here a minute ago. Now where'd it go? There it is. I'm going to take that ferrite out. And it leaves me with a big blob of I don't know. And if this is anything like the other thing, I'm not going to be able to get into this. I'm going to give it a shot, but I'm going to give up really easily if it doesn't work out. There's no seams really. There's nothing. It's a blind shot. Yeah. Wow, what a disappointment. Holy crap. Anyhow, so the big prize out of this was the radiator part. Okay. And there is probably a pound there. Just for giggles, I'm going to see if I can take these pieces off easily. And I think looking at this, I don't know if I'm going to stick with doing that, for the simple reason that it looks like it would be very easy, especially me without gloves, which I always say, don't do like me, put some gloves on. This would be something that you could injure yourself on pretty easily. So, I don't know. But you could, especially if you put gloves on, because like I'm telling you right now, like I shouldn't even be trying this without gloves. This is one of those things that is just, it's a good challenge. Definitely difficult. Would I say it was worth it? It was worth it for the knowledge. I certainly didn't get, I only paid $3 for this thing, right? Did I get $3 out of it? I don't think I got $3 out of it. I got $3 in knowledge out of it. That you can end up with that type of motor that you can't and I can't tell you how dusty this thing. So air purifiers, yeah, maybe a good idea is to vacuum or blow them out first before you do them. So that's something else I've learned. And yeah, this sheet aluminum is not a real easy deal to deal with either. It's like I said, you can take it apart, but it's not easy. And these are not copper tubes or anything. I know some other types, the copper tubing, if you can find an easy way to take them apart, it's worth it, but this isn't copper tubing, I don't think. It's not copper tubing, I'm certain it's not copper tubing. pull these out. If you've got a way to extract these, let me know in the comments. Yeah, dinging up my fingers a little bit here. I'm trying to be a little tentative with it because trying to avoid that, of course. All right. Okay, you know, I think I'm calling her quits there. So, when they say when you lose, don't lose the lesson. So, what are the lessons that I learned from this? Well, Cold War era air purifiers can be indestructible and are generally not really worth the time to scrap. Look at, if nothing else, and this isn't everything, it's just everything from today. Look at all the stuff I'm throwing out. Okay. I did not end up with a significant source of copper for the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, unless you can find a way, and you could try, like I could whale on this with, and I might try it, but I'm telling you, this is embedded. This is embedded. This copper is embedded, and without that copper, this scrap out's really not worth it, eh? I'm going to take a garbage bag and then put this in a garbage bag, and that's going to take up most of a garbage bag. I'm probably going to have to take it to the landfill like that, you know, and got a little bit of shred out of it, and I got like $1 worth of aluminum, which is not bad, you know, but overall, this thing kicked my butt. But just remember, if the zombie apocalypse comes, you'll be able to pull this sucker out, and you'll be able to get fresh air. Scrap and loot. Over and out. God bless.